Any views or opinions expressed on KUR are not necessarily those of Kutztown University, Kutztown University Student Government, Kutztown University Student Services Incorporated, KUR staff and management, or other affiliated organizations.
Tough topics. Discussing those issues that are important to the KU campus community that might not be getting talked about enough. And now, your host, tackling those tough topics, Trisha, on the radio voice, KUR.
Hey, you're listening to Tough Topics. I'm your host, Trisha. Today's show will be quite interesting because today I have with me Julia, and I'm going to let her introduce herself like I always do.
Thanks, Trisha. Thanks for having me. My name is Julia. I'm a senior here at Kutztown, about to graduate in May with my bachelor's in social work. I also have a minor in philosophy. This semester, I am also directing the Vagina Monologues on campus, so I know we'll touch back on that later. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I'm really glad you're joining me today because the inspiration for this show today really kind of came about the idea that Valentine's Day is right around the corner. Mm-hmm. And, originally I was like, maybe I'll do a show on relationships and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wait, no, I already did a show on that. And then someone gave me the idea to do a show on maybe your relationship with your body. And then I was like, vaginas. We got to talk about those too, of course. And then the Vagina Monologues came up because that's happening also this month as well. So I was like, Julia would love to talk about these things.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like a perfect time for all of this to come together. There's a lot of synergy.
Yeah, 100%. So some of the inspiration, like I said, is talking about your relationship with your body and how you kind of conceptualize that and how you feel about your body and just how girls in general grow up feeling about their bodies. I found some information on that, and sadly, the majority of girls, 59%, report dissatisfaction within their body shape, and 66% express the desire to lose weight. 46% of 9 to 11-year-olds sometimes or very often are on diets, and 82% of their families are sometimes or very often on diets as well. And I think the other quote that I wanted to pull from that one is that one study reports that age 13-year-olds 53% of American girls are unhappy with their bodies, and this grows to 78% by the time girls reach 17, which I think is just really sad. Like, someone that, like, I'm 24, and my relationship to my body is it's different than what it looked like at age 13, but I remember being that young and feeling the pressure to have a certain body type, or I saw those stigmas, I saw those expectations. And it's just sad knowing that this, that 53% of American girls are unhappy with their bodies, and that grows to 78% by the time you're 17.
Yeah. I think growing up, we're not told to have our own unique relationship to our body. There's so many different conversations that are had about what we should do to our bodies, how we should look, how we should dress, the ways in which, like, even just our hygiene, it comes down to how we should look, smell, just appear to others, what we should put on our bodies or not. And so we're not told that we can have an individual, personal connection to our body. Our social environment teaches us so many different things throughout our childhood, and it takes a long time to unlearn those.
100%. I think a big factor of that is also representation within the media. So the whole Aerie campaign of loving your body and just being a little bit more diverse in their representation of what bodies they're advertising, I think is really important. The one day I was shopping for bras, and it was from Victoria's Secret, and Victoria's Secret is very
not size inclusive.
Correct. Yes, it's not size inclusive at all. And actually, I took notice to the fact that all of their bra advertising for all of them were of smaller chested women. And I thought to myself, how do I know that bra is going to fit me in the right ways that I need it to for someone that is a larger chested woman? And I just thought this makes shopping really frustrating, and it just sends this really big message that if that's not how you look, then you're not doing it right, or you're not perfect, or you're not XYZ. And I used to not really pay attention to that stuff until I started to pay attention to it, and now I just can't unsee it. And it's like how that goes.
Yeah, I totally found sometimes that I would even like pick up smaller sizes from the shelf just because like I thought that I shouldn't be the size that I am, which is ridiculous. Like we should be taught and we should have examples like in the Airy campaign with inclusivity. Like we should be taught that it's okay to be the size that you are. If you personally want to change it, not based on outside influences, if that's part of your relationship with your body, then that's okay. But to see inclusivity and to see diversity and to know that it's okay to be the size that you are, and you should be able to pick up any size from the shelf and make sure that it's good and comfortable for you, helps you become more comfortable with your own body.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. The fashion industry is quite interesting in just how much influence they have over both how your relationship to your body and maybe some other things that, like hair, for instance. So I'm gonna be in the vagina monologues, and so I'm gonna do a monologue called Hair, and it's made me think a lot about my relationship to the hair on my body. And one of the things that I never realized and that I never saw in the media was hair. Like I was doing some research on this, and I was like, wait, that's so true. Like even in shaving advertisements, there is no hair on the bodies. And you're like, what are you shaving at that point? Like, there's nothing there.
I know. Honestly, it's just goofy. Like, I mean, when you realize just how absolutely, like, bonkers it is, that's an important realization. Because you start to be able to, like, develop your own relationship, not based on, like, you know, some of the more like liberal, you know, you should let your hair grow out, or really the conservative, modest, like women should not have hair and it's just appalling to have hairy armpits. And like, so those are different messages that we're taught or that we're exposed to, and really none of it should necessarily guide what you do to your own body, but again, we're not taught that. So all the hairless women that we see, or the hairy women that we see in like old 1970s photos that are like very romanticized, that we don't really think about how they were treated outside of their own social circles. So yeah, it's all pretty confusing for us.
It's very weird. Interestingly, when I wanted to learn more about like how women generally feel about their body hair, I did a quick Google search, and this is literally what I searched. How do women feel about body hair? And the majority of the results were focused on how women feel about men's body hair. And I was like, why? Like, okay, here we are again, making something that should be focused on women, focused on men. Like, yeah. Granted, the other side of that story really is that men also have that same pressure of body hair, or feeling like they shouldn't have chest hair, or
feeling like they should have more chest hair.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, and it differs around the world. I know there are like more products in Europe that are like products for men to use in the shower that just remove their body hair, kind of like Nair. And so there are those products for men there. But you think about like in America, I think that it's kind of like a sign of masculinity to have like chest hair, or to have, but only the perfect amount, right? Only like a certain way for it to look. So yeah, it kind of, that's where feminism is for. These discussions, these you know, feminist discussions that we're having are like, we're thinking about all genders here. So, yeah. It
was interesting because, you know, in one breath I was like, what the heck? Why are we making this about men again? Like, why can't we have the like, why? But then in this, it's you're not wrong. Like, to be intersectional, we have to look at it from all different angles, and that's another angle that we don't necessarily get to talk about, or that they don't get to talk about, because there's just so much stereotyping around what men can talk about and be vocal about. But it was interesting. I mean, it's kind of like what you said earlier about how you can develop your own personal relationship to your body hair. And that's what I really found in the one article that I looked at. They all had different feels about it, and it was very interesting. I actually learned a lot about shaving in general. In ancient Rome, shaving was a status identifier for women. So women that were of a higher status would do what they could to remove their body hair, including like using pumice stones. And that would be incredibly painful. The things that we've done just in history to show our status is wild.
Yeah. I mean, the things that women have done for menstrual care, and the things that basically they've done to stop or change the natural parts of their body, or the natural parts of their existence, to change them and cover them up and remove them and efface them. Yeah, it's pretty interesting to learn about.
The first I like how they use relatively safe. I'm like, were we dying?
None of it is. Like,
the first relatively safe shaving instrument was created in 1769. It was refined over the years, and then, however, it wasn't until a traveling salesman named King Camp Gillette combined the shape of Henson's razor with his desire to make shaving easier
and disposable.
His was the first disposable double-edged blade in 1901. So that was super cool to learn about. But then they go into the study. This article goes into a 2013 study that was done by Foz. They conducted 2 experiments surrounding women and their relationship with body hair, specifically what they thought of hairiness, really. And the results revealed that most women were disgusted by the idea of body hair, both of their own and the idea of other women allowing their hair to grow out. That was the first part. The second part was the study challenged participants to allow their body hair to grow out for 10 weeks and keep a journal about the experience. And the results revealed that the participating women thought obsessively about their body hair and even refused to interact with others during the experiment.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And another theme that kind of comes up throughout this article is that there's a couple other women that say they'll wear either long sleeve shirts or they'll wear clothing that's not necessarily seasonal appropriate because they don't want to expose their body hair. So it kind of goes back to this, like, you can have a personal relationship with shaving and with having body hair, so it's okay to shave it too. Like, there's that, like, the two sides to the coin. Like, it's so interesting to me.
Absolutely. I think it's to make those decisions for yourself, you have to be aware of the you have to sort of acknowledge what you've been raised with in your social environment, these ideas and influences that have shaped how you currently treat your body. Once you acknowledge and realize those, you can start making decisions for yourself. But you can't be confident. We can't be confident that we're making decisions for ourselves until we realize why we're making those decisions in the first place. And so, yeah, absolutely. If you have realized the ways in which society has shaped you to shave your legs every 2 days, but then you've decided, well, it's kind of okay for me. I actually don't mind that. Then great. Okay, keep doing what you're doing. If you realize that and you feel that that's a mechanism of self-effacement to women, which many of you probably assume that's how I feel, but that's fine. Okay, stop shaving your legs. But I think you'll know if it's genuine when you have to wear a skirt in the summertime or shorts in the summertime. If that makes you uncomfortable, either keep working on it or don't, whatever feels comfortable. And I think women are are really taught that a lot of our existence needs to be uncomfortable. We're really taught that we have to, like I said earlier, look a certain way, smell a certain way, act a certain way, say certain things, speak a certain way. We're not taught just to do what's comfortable to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that our relationship with body hair needs to really be based on what we know and how we feel, and giving ourselves the power to do that. I know we're going to kind of transition into some of these socioeconomic factors too. So one of the things I've thought a lot about is like, how much money have I spent over the years on razors, shaving cream, appointments to get my mustache waxed, and to get my eyebrows done, and oh my gosh, I mean, laser hair removal. I mean, if we start thinking about these like economic factors that oppress women into spending more money on their body hair removal, it's just, it gets real scary there. You know, it really gets into that conversation about oppression at that point. Not just social oppression, not just controlling behaviors, but also controlling socioeconomic status. So
yeah, we'll definitely talk more about that. We'll talk about the pig tax,
Mm-hmm.
The tampon tax.
Mm-hmm.
We'll definitely talk about that. We'll definitely even talk about vaginas,
Mm-hmm.
and some things that, surround that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I feel like we've moved to a point recently where we associate growing out our body hair with this like burning bra feminism.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that I really enjoyed about this article was that one of the women was kind of quoted saying like, being a feminist doesn't have to be synonymous with being hairy. And I think that's also important to realize. And it goes back to kind of that idea of knowing that, like, kind of trying to break down those barriers or the walls of oppression of women. I mean, I only started to kind of really feel comfortable with growing out body hair about 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
3
about
maybe.
the same for me.
Yeah, and so I went from one side of it where I was like, I gotta shave everything, my armpits can't have hair on them, nothing, and then I went to not shaving anything, and then kind of back to this place of, well, I'm gonna shave my legs because it kind of hurts to grow out my leg hair. Like, the one thing no one told me, and I tried to suffer through it, was how painful it can be to grow out your leg hair, and how itchy it can be, and how, and this kind of goes back to the fashion industry, and we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, like putting on leggings and it pulls your leg hair up in one direction, and then taking off my leggings and it just being free, like, it was so painful. It hurt so bad. And just the fact that, even what we wear can kind of make or break a situation, or not a situation, like a experience with your leg hair. Granted, I actually really do enjoy how smooth my legs feel. I love that sensation. So I went back to shaving my legs.
Yeah, sure.
If I want to save time, I won't do it. Like, I'll just be like, it's fine, I don't need to.
Yeah, I think that like past waves of feminism have gotten this reputation and have actually kind of been about like teaching women what is right to do and destroying these patriarchal notions of what we've been taught to do. And like, absolutely, we should destroy those patriarchal notions. But feminism is about giving people the power, all people, to have the power to make their own decisions. So yeah, like we said earlier, if it's something that you decide that works for you, then you should have that power to do that and not be scrutinized by society to either be hairy or not be hairy. Fellow, maybe I guess that was like, was that like second wave feminism, kind of like burning bras, growing out your hair, topless protests? Like you know what? I think that was radical. I think that was an important step. It started conversations. But we're kind of at a place now where it's like, okay, clearly not everyone has the capacity to do those things. And for so many different reasons. I mean, if we're, we have to be intersectional. A lot of women don't have there's more social stigma on certain populations. So to say that women of color or more scrutinized populations should do these things, we're like intervening on their right to choose, and their right to be comfortable. And so, yeah, absolutely. It's a hard journey because on one hand, you learn about these systems that have oppressed you and kind of forced you to make the decisions about shaving your entire body. And then on the other hand, it's like, well, now I need to figure out it's okay to shave my legs. For me, it's like I used to shave my arms, my whole arms. And now I'm like, I can't believe I did that. And I don't do that. But there's other parts of my body that I do want to shave. And that's okay. And realizing that it's okay to be comfortable is a big thing.
I remember being younger and learning that you're not supposed to shave your arms. And I was like, what have I been doing? Like, I've wasted so much time.
Yeah.
So much time. Because your arms are not easy, or like it's kind of like, it's like your legs. They're not necessarily quick.
Well, the skin is so soft and just learning about what we can do, not what we should do, but what we can and are allowed to do, is a process for women and, female identifying folks in so many different ways, and especially about body hair.
The one thing I loved from this article as well was that we need to stop policing what people do with their bodies or how much hair they keep on any part of their bodies. I think the media has made some strides in moving away from perpetuating the stigma attached to body hair. And then I also enjoy this one that says they're exhausting and expensive. Honestly,
Absolutely.
We should just let women live however they want.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's perfect. Perfectly sums it up.
100%. Body hair is such a interesting thing if you've never really thought about it or have had a conversation about it.
Yeah, I love what you're doing with tough topics, because topics that continue to be taboo, it results in the social oppression of people. So many different people, not even just marginalized or vulnerable populations, just people in general. Like, suppressing conversations is totally a mechanism of oppression.
I think a really simple way to maybe address, like, just kind of letting people do what they want is, if you come across someone and their legs aren't shaved, don't make a big deal about it. If you
don't
come
even
across,
say anything.
just don't even address it. Like, just, and if you hear someone say something about, or say you don't shave, but your friend is like, oh, I have to go shave, or I have to shave tonight, or whatever, I'm going on a date or whatever, don't make a comment about that either. They can choose what they want. If you feel like there's a conversation there about what they think is appropriate for dates, maybe, but honestly, just let people do what they want.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been processing something. I was spending some time with my friend over the weekend, and she was telling me, oh, I'm going on a date tonight. I might go back to their house after. I'm going to shave my vagina, but I really, really don't want to. I just feel like he wants me to. And so I was like, okay, listen, you can if that's what you want, but just know that you don't have to if it's not what you want to do. So it's kind of that like borderline of, we need to figure out how to have these conversations. I kind of just wanted to be like, don't do it. Just don't shave. Just grow it out. Let your bush be your bush, and it's beautiful and everything. But I had to stop myself from saying that, because it is her choice. If that's where she's at right now, where she's making that decision for her partners, then that's where she's at. And it's a growing process for everyone, literally.
100%. Literally.
Literally growing.
Literally. Interestingly, that actually brought up another thought of mine, is that in the past, from any sexual partner that I've had, once I stopped shaving, is I felt the need to tell them I didn't shave. And interestingly...
and say sorry. Sorry, I didn't shave.
Interestingly, I don't say sorry. I just say, hey, I don't shave.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of just see where it goes. Because part of me, like, the little, like, feminist brain I have is like, well, if he's not okay with it, like, maybe not, like, whatever. But this one guy said, you know, younger me would have been weird about it and, like, would have not been for it.
Yeah,
but, like, older me understands that, like, it's normal. It's there for a reason. And I think that's important to kind of look at that side of that, too, because what are the messages men are being told about body hair on women and what that's supposed to look like? And it was an interesting thought.
Yeah, I think the reason why it's so difficult for me, the societal messages that women should shave, it's really difficult for me because, so from my perspective, it's sort of that women should look young because, I mean, it's prepubescent to have no hair on your vagina or around your vagina. And so, or vulva, we should say vulva, right? Like that's the outside part. So it's prepubescent to have no hair around your vulva. And so I really think about what society wants to force women to look like and to act like. So I don't know. That's why it's so tough for me that am I realizing my womanhood or not? If I'm shaving or not shaving. So that's been a journey for me.
Yeah. It's a the whole monologue that I'm going to be doing has really like just made me think more about growing out that area and just what that looks like and how I feel about that. I mean, I grew up with a mom that literally told me, like, you don't shave your vagina. Like, so I have the one side of it where, like, my mom's like, no, like, it can stay hairy, like, all that. So I don't know. I think it's a conversation that needs to be continued and not shied away from. People get so shy when it comes to talking about vaginas, which we're going to talk about after the break. We're going to take a break quick and we'll talk about vaginas and it'll be a good time.
Cool.
So you're listening to Tough Topics on KUR and I'm your host, Trisha.
Programming on KUR provided in part by the MSU Spring Movie Series, now located in room 116 of the MSU. The Spring Movie Series shows the movie Thursday and Fridays at 8 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday at 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. This coming February 6th through February 9th, Joker at the Spring Movie Series, once again now located in MSU 116. Checking campus headlines, more than 1,770 students have been named to the Fall 19 Dean's List at Kutztown University. To be eligible for the Dean's List, an undergraduate student must be registered for at least 12 credits and have a minimum grade point average of 3.60. We check news about hourly here on your newsletter here in Northeastern Berks County, KUR Kutztown. Programming on KUR provided in part by the Northeast Berks Chamber of Commerce, 610-683-8860. Checking campus headlines, KU Presents welcomes the Dance Theater of Harlem, a singular presence in the ballet world celebrating its 50th anniversary season, for a multi-day residency at Kutztown University. Dance Theater of Harlem will take the stage at 7:30 p.m. Wednesday, February 5th in Schaefer Auditorium on the Kutztown University campus. Tickets are $42, $38 for students and seniors, and can be purchased at kutztownpresents.org or by calling the KU Presents box office 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday through Friday at 610-683-4092. In addition to the public performance, the Dance Theater of Harlem will be offering a lecture demonstration for K-12 schools at 10 a.m. Wednesday, February 5th. We check news about hourly here on your newsletter here in Northeastern Berks County, KUR Kutztown.
It's on us.
To make sure that everyone knows that if a partner doesn't or can't consent to sex, it's sexual assault.
It's on us to step up and say something.
To not give our friends a pass.
To always be on the side of the survivor.
To realize we have a role to play in stopping sexual assault.
It's on us, the Golden Bear community, to stop sexual assault.
I took the pledge and you should too at itsonus.org.
Darlene! Not now. I'm watching my stories.
Dad,
Yeah, boy.
I need to tell you something.
What?
I have these feelings.
Feelings? What feelings?
Well, the thing is, Dad, I like boys.
What? You're gay? Aw, son. I'm proud of you. Took lots of guts. And please know that both me and your mom are here for you. After all, you're our son, and we love you no matter what.
Need someone who understands? If you're a lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning youth, Lyric can help. At Lyric, young people get the support they need to come out early and follow their heart. I'm Armistead Maupin. Please join me in supporting Lyric. To learn more and make a donation, visit lyric.org today.
And for GLBTQ resources on campus, visit the KU GLBTQ Center, Old Main, Room 4.
Welcome back to Tough Topics. I'm your host, Trisha. Just a little recap for anyone that maybe is just tuning in now or, will be tuning in after it's put on into a podcast version. We just finished up a conversation about, kind of how we develop relationships to our bodies, what that kind of looks like, how we're allowed to do that, and hair and having body hair and hair around your vagina and all of that, fun stuff. Definitely, if you're tuning in now and you want to hear that part, definitely look out for the podcast version and start it from the beginning because it's some really good conversation. So we're going to transition into talking about vaginas. Let's put a disclaimer out there that we are not gynecologists. We're just talking about our experience growing up with vaginas and having a vagina. Mm-hmm. So this is our personal experience. This is not reflective of all people that have vaginas. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. One of the biggest things that I want to put out there, your vagina should smell. It should have a smell.
It should smell like a vagina,
yes.
Not like flowers.
And all of those products that are out there trying to convince you that your vagina should smell like flowers is garbage.
It's like Summer's Eve wipes or something. I just can't believe it. Every time I see it in the store, I cringe. I literally get chills because I can't believe that we are taught to control the smell of a part of our body that is just naturally, it naturally runs itself. It cleans itself. It's amazing. It has its own microbiome, and we're taught to try to intervene in that. It's bonkers.
This is the stuff that they don't talk about in your sex education when you're growing up. This is not something that I heard, in my health classes, things like that. It's stuff that I've learned throughout just growing up and having a vagina, going to a gynecologist and them being like, your vagina looks a little red and irritated. Do you use Summer's Eve? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, stop it. I had a gynecologist literally not yell at me, but they were like, it's not good for you. Even though it says it's pH balancing, I put that in air quotes, by the way. It's not. It's not. It's actually really messing with the pH of your vagina. What I do appreciate, and I'm not condoning not necessarily, I don't know. Actually, you know what? You can do what you want. Summer's Eve has moved into a place of taking out fragrances of their products. You can get wipes that don't have fragrance in them anymore. And I have those for some messy moments, but they are not in a way to cleanse my vagina.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to cleanse
your vagina. Doesn't need cleansing.
No.
Yeah, so I think, we're all of us people with vaginas we are all trying to figure out how we want to treat our vagina in our life and throughout our life and the relationship with our vaginas. And I think after I have children, that'll just be a whole nother journey.
100%. Easily.
And over time it has changed so much, and partners I've had who have been absolutely cruel about the way my vagina smelled or looked, or it's been tough.
Yeah. Vaginas vary so much. And so one thing I would highly suggest is if you have not done this, and a lot of women have not, a lot of women are not comfortable, or a lot of people with vaginas are not comfortable talking about vaginas. But I would definitely suggest taking a little hand mirror and check it out. You'll learn a lot about yourself. You'll learn a lot about your labia and how that looks. I always forget that labia does vary a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And it can look very different vagina to vagina.
Yeah, absolutely. There's totally societal influences. If you don't want to talk about the porn industry and what we are taught is like a pretty perfect vagina, I mean, we don't even have to go into that. That's a whole nother conversation. But we're totally taught like what a good, quote unquote, vagina looks like. And that's just so wrong. There's 7 billion people in the world, and I think half the population. So there are 3.5 billion different vaginas in the world. There is no one good, perfect vagina.
They're all great.
They're all good.
They're all great.
And your vagina smells different day to day. Even just feels different day to day. And it's your own unique experience in your own unique relationship.
A lot of people don't realize that the simplest things, like you just informed me, drinking water, how hydrated you are can change the smell of your vagina.
Where you are in your cycle, what you're eating,
what after having sex can change the pH of your vagina, so it's going to smell different then. It's going to, it varies. And it's okay. Now, obviously, there are bad smells. Your vagina can indicate to you if you have a yeast infection, if you have an STD, but you'll know.
And don't go on the internet, and if you are concerned about something, go to Planned Parenthood, or if you can get in to see your gynecologist, or, the internet will tell you all these crazy things, because a lot of what's on the internet about vaginas is in fact based on these societal notions about vaginas. Yeah. So like you said, I mean, if you notice something significantly different, it might be an indicator. Again, Trisha and I are not gynecologists, but based on our personal experiences, there are signs that you can see as a person with a vagina. Like Trisha said, you can know when something might be wrong, and you might even be wrong about it. Maybe nothing's wrong, but if you want to go check it out. And that's also part of just like learning more about your vagina, learning more about your body. And we should just like not be uncomfortable with it, or not feel shameful about that.
That's kind of what is really wonderful about the vagina monologues. I remember seeing it for the first time in undergrad, because I was taking a WGS course that required me to go to see it. And I remember it was such an experience for multiple reasons. Me personally, I'm okay. I was always comfortable with talking about vaginas. I was comfortable saying the word vagina. So that part of it, I was not new to, but the different parts that don't get talked about is what I loved about it. Like the hair monologue, my angry vagina, I think the monologues are great for kind of seeing all aspects of it.
Yeah. I think what we're doing right now and the vagina monologues, like, it's probably, for most people, the most amount of times they've heard the word vagina being spoken within, like, the span of 1 hour. So we want them to we want everyone, the listeners and the viewers, to get comfortable with it.
Yeah. We are doing the vagina monologues. It'll be showcased on February 20th and 21st at 7 p.m. in MSU 218, which is the big multi-purpose room. You can buy tickets. I don't think they're available yet. Not yet. But they will be soon. It'll be $5 with a KU student ID, and then $10 for non-ID KU ID people. If you've never seen it, definitely come out for it, because it's an experience, and it's an empowering experience. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's my first year being a part of it. We'll talk a little bit more about vagina monologues in a second, because I want to go back to some other things about vaginas that I don't think people may have not heard of, or they've heard the word or the topic but not really know what it is. The pink tax, which it's not an actual tax. It's gender-based pricing, and is an upcharge on products traditionally intended for women, which have only cosmetic differences from comparable products traditionally intended for men. This is when you see a price difference in quote-unquote female razors versus men razors, even though they're literally the same.
Truly an evil genius campaign.
Yeah, whoever created this marketing is making so much money.
You're very smart, but in a really awful way.
But kind of hate you because now I have to pay
I mean,
almost $5
genius.
more. The difference is wild.
Yeah, they took the notions of gender, color to gender association, and they just turned it into a profit. It was truly evil genius.
I even found that researchers looked at 106 products in toys and accessories category for little girls were priced 7% higher. So toys, they don't understand that kind of stuff yet.
I have no idea. I think Ellen DeGeneres has a good bit. If you Google, Ellen DeGeneres pink tax, she shows that pink pencils are more expensive than regular pencils. I mean, or pink pens or something. I mean, it was just... Oh, she pointed out some good things. Yeah. So razors and just all of these items that are marketed toward women, that it's just silly. And yeah, we end up spending over the years. It's only 7%, but over the years, so much
that's for
more
the
money.
Toys and accessories.
For the toy, I mean, for the razors.
This study found women faced an average price difference of 13% for personal care products among 122 products compared in the study. And the authors aptly noted that these items, such as shaving gel and deodorant, are the ones purchased most frequently compared to other categories. I use men's deodorant for one. It's cheaper, and I like the smells better, honestly. I'm not a type of person that wants to smell like flowers, and baby powder... I don't know why they think that's a good
it's
scent.
just goofy. And I mean, we're also I mean, the price differences are so important to acknowledge. And then the products that we're told we need to have.
Summer's Eve.
Yeah, again, Summer's Eve. And I guess women used to put talcum powder. I mean, some still do.
Oh, yeah.
Women used to put talcum powder in their underwear to, that's the point too, about masking the smell. And just that, it's another product that we need to have to control our bodies from doing what they're naturally supposed to do or supposed to look or supposed to smell. So it kind of does coincide with the pink tax, these things that we're supposed to have for cosmetic purposes that just contribute to us spending more money. More socioeconomic oppression.
I do like brands that are kind of a little bit more you don't have to pay a lot of money for your razors. Dollar Shave Club is
I've heard of them.
They're somewhat neutral, I would say. They're kind of a little bit on the more masculine side, but kind of depends on, I don't know. Some people prefer the feminine razors because they have the jelly strips and all of that.
Edges,
because we do have sensitive skin. I mean, skin can be very sensitive in general, so it's important to kind of take that into consideration. But the other thing that I didn't realize, and maybe it's because Pennsylvania doesn't tax these items. We are one of very few states that don't. The tampon tax. Now, this is an actual tax, and it's a tax that there's 36 states that still put sales tax on hygiene products such as pads, pad liners, tampons, and cups. I didn't realize this, and I was like, that's ridiculous.
Because it's seen as a unnecessary item.
I'm sorry, am I supposed to just bleed into my underwear? But
there's social stigma about that. And so, you say it's not necessary, but not necessary for what? For our success? That we have to be shamed and not able to, if we didn't have these products, many women probably wouldn't go to school. And we see that in developing countries, that it's a shameful thing to have a period. And that would probably have the same effect anywhere that women did not have access to tampons. I mean, how much money have you spent on tampons in the last year? I have seriously spent probably hundreds of dollars on tampons.
Yes, easily.
And I mean, it's important that we have access to it, and industries know that, and so they tax it. And it's tough.
It's kind of a once you learn about it, you're like, oh, okay.
It's just really gross to learn about.
Yeah. Interestingly, because people are like, it's not a necessity, and I'm like, okay, so let's talk about how marshmallows in Florida are not taxed. Maine doesn't tax snowmobiles, and Indiana doesn't tax barbecue sunflower seeds. I get that the two of them are in the food category, but I'm sorry, there's no nutritional value to marshmallows. It's literally like sugar.
Yeah, it's
So when you think about it like that, it's like, okay, so you can have your barbecue sunflower seeds untaxed, but the thing that I cannot control, the items that I need for that are going to have to be taxed.
Yeah, the items that I need for functioning in the current society that we live in are taxed.
I do enjoy that, but I wish they weren't so expensive. And maybe this is because I don't know. The new underwears that are coming out,
like Thinks and Nix,
which could be ideal for people that have lighter periods due to birth control reasons or things like that.
You know, they have like postpartum underwear. So there are companies now that are basically women-owned companies that women have designed, or people with vaginas have designed underwear for menstruation that you basically can replace tampons and pads with these garments, and it's genius. It's revolutionary. And the other thing that I think is really great is that there's starting to be an emphasis on acknowledging that we don't even know what's been in our tampons for a long time. Tampon companies are not required by I guess it's the FDA, to list the ingredients. And so you can actually, if you don't have an organic cotton tampon at home, take your tampon and try to light it on fire.
And see what happens.
And if it doesn't light on fire like cotton would, then light on fire, then it has a ton of additives that you're then
a lot of synthetic materials
stuffing up your vagina. And then again, like that affects the pH balance, which then affects the smell, and then we're just it's like a cycle. And so there are products you can see in like drugstores that are completely organic cotton tampons. So I like that there's been an emphasis in recent years where women have been able to advocate in business and manufacturing settings to develop more healthy products for our menstruation options.
I didn't look into this much, and this is going to be more of like a, hey, if this is actually interesting to you, like look it up. I even have seen ads for condoms that are made to be a little bit more like conducive to not messing with the vagina's pH and just kind of it being more like on the, no, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not even like it's not healthier. Like,
yeah, well, it is. It's safer.
Yes.
I think. Yeah. And so there's like lubricants and condoms that are safe for the pH balance of our vaginas. And I forget the company too, but there's one that's like pretty popular. I think mostly you have to order online, but it's pretty convenient.
It's just an interesting thing, like that we do have access to these things now. And that we're starting to finally like say, hey, this stuff can be better. We don't need to use like weird ingredients for these
the classical, basically products that are designed by men for men's pleasure during sex. So yeah, we don't need to use those. And
we are running out of time, but I do want to talk a little bit kind of about V-Day. That goes a little bit more along with vaginal monologues. And from what I read, it was kind of like it was set up on Valentine's Day as the original day.
So February 14th is V-Day. And V-Day is a global movement of grassroots activists dedicated to generating broader attention and funds to stop violence against women and girls, including femicide, rape, battery, incest, female genital mutilation, and sex slavery. So it addresses a lot of these really tough topics that people are kind of just afraid to talk about. So V-Day creates a dialogue and shatters taboos around violence against women. There have been thousands of events in over 140 countries since V-Day was founded. V-Day focuses on inspiring and supporting activists who are working to create a world where women are protected. And this happens through activism, public education activities, and then, of course, the opportunity for communities and organizations and universities to host vagina monologues performances and choose a charity that works to end violence against women to donate proceeds from the show to. So yeah, that's kind of about V-Day, what and how it's beneficial to women in the world.
Yeah, it's super cool that the vagina monologues in general just are empowering and also such an active campaign as well too. There's always that other side of it where you realize that you have a lot of privilege or you have a lot of safety, because like you brought up genital mutilation. Struggled on that one. That's not something that we have to worry about.
Yeah.
But there's still countries out there that practice this and still do it. But it's one thing that kind of we get to sweep from the back of our minds. So if you want to learn more about that, definitely, do some research. It's still, like I said, something that is happening, and it's really sad.
Yeah, we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable if we really want to address these issues in the world. And it was really groundbreaking work that Eve Ensler is the creator. She's a playwright and activist. In 1994, she conducted interviews with women. And so the play, Vagina Monologues, addresses women's sexuality and the social stigma surrounding violence against women. And it just covers such a broad range of topics, including FGM, including rape, including, there's some more lighthearted ones about the one called My Angry Vagina that just kind of exposes how absolutely absurd some of these practices in society are. But it just covers this broad range. And it's an artistic work that just sparks conversation and makes people think, and then hopefully inspires them to join grassroots movements, or at least just spread awareness, because awareness really is where change starts. So yeah, it breaks down those social stigmas and taboos. For sure. Yeah, awareness is definitely where it all starts, because if you don't know what you don't know, and that's not how change begins. Just a quick plug for some events that are coming up. I will only plug until March 5th. So like I said, the Vagina Monologues is happening on February 20th and 21st, 7 p.m. MSU 218. You can buy tickets at MSU, $5 with a KUID, $10 without. On Tuesday, March 3rd, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in MSU 183, there will be an event called Beyond Pink-Collared Jobs. In honor of Women's History Month, this event will bring a panel of professional women to talk about their careers beyond the typical pink-collar jobs, which are in fields historically considered to be women's work. Join us to hear about these professional paths and to network, organized by the Association for Women in Mathematics. And then we'll talk, and then we have International Women's Day on Thursday, March 5th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Old Main Lobby. It's just going to be a table. This year's theme is for International Women's Day is each for equal, and is drawn from the idea of collective individualism. Stop by our table to learn more about this annual event and celebrate acts of courage and determination by ordinary women in our own community. I really appreciate you listening to Tough Topics. I'm your host, Trisha, and I'll see you next month.